You're listening to the Auddie and AP Sports Podcast.
Hey, man.
What's good?
Did you know that Auddie and AP have a podcast?
Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Did you know that they never make podcasts anymore?
Well, I'm pretty sure they're making podcasts like all the time now.
Did you know that they have a new home for their podcast?
No, not really.
Did you know that they were number one on the amateur sports charts for a long time on iTunes?
Beats me. I didn't know that.
Well, now you know. Now you know. You just never know.
You just never know.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Auddie and AP podcast, a sports podcast?
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
Yeah.
It's a podcast. It's going to be a regular thing now. Like we said, it's something that we've done in the past, but just couldn't stay freaking consistent with, man.
Yeah, and now we're going to be much more consistent, giving you guys sports takes that we always love to do. You know, we make YouTube videos now, of course. You've got the Auddie James channel, and I've got Andrew Pillick Hockey. Hopefully, if you guys are listening and you guys are supporters of those channels as well, thank you very much. We're going to have a ton of fun today on this podcast. It's good to be back.
It is great to be back, and the consistency is going to be there. I know you've heard the same tune on the fiddle over and over again when we were on SoundCloud and then on iTunes, but our new exclusive home for the time being is YouTube on the Auddie and AP channel. So if you are new here, just sit back and relax, and if you're here from before, then thank you for coming back and restoring faith in us, because we were so inconsistent. But the inconsistency stops here. Let's get into it.
107. Okay, these guys onto something you won't learn in school. Flat on knowledge, sharpen up, now you're on tune. Man, these young encyclopedias play the game, now that's criteria. Welcome people to the cool spot in the media. How you doing? We chopping it up, so come with facts about the players you're repping. You broadcasting by the minute, but we be up by the second. Now you're second. From the O N to the AB, sit back and relax. This is Auddie and AP.
So we had a bit of news in the NHL this week. Some news that I guess we don't really see in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, you know, I think I was a little bit stunned, and it revolves around Nate Schmidt.
Yeah, it was definitely, you know, when you hear news like this, you don't think of the NHL. When you hear performance-enhancing drugs or any form of, you know, performance-enhanced cheating, you don't think of the NHL, because I think that the NHL has it down pat compared to other leagues. They set the standard, and they let it be known, you know, across the league, and you don't get any of that nonsense, right?
Right. Yeah. It's they try to stay out of all that stuff for sure.
It's big. You know, we've talked about this before, and it's something that, you know, you and I have gone back and forth about all the time, and it's the fact that these are big in, you know, sports like baseball. You know, you see it in football, you see it in like cycling and Olympic swimming and stuff like that, but hockey is just one of those sports that seems to fly under the radar with it, because I think, like I said, the NHL just has a good system in place for it. But yes, it does revolve around Vegas Golden Knights defenseman Nate Schmidt, who has been banned 20 games for failing a drug test, essentially. Performance-enhancing drugs were found in his system. Let's get into that a little bit, because it's a bit of a, I don't want to say touchy subject. I know that some people are sensitive towards it just because, well, at least the Vegas fans will, because it's like they said they found like 7 billion.
I mean, the thing is, it was a super small amount, but here's my argument, and again, like, there's going to be a lot of people that are defending him, and here's the thing, I get it. It was a very small dose, and what they're saying right now is that he had no idea. And, you know, don't take everything we're saying here as gospel, because not all of the information is out yet. Like, this just happened in the past couple days, so you're not really sure of all the information. A lot of people are defending Nate Schmidt right now, saying, oh, he's a great guy on and off the ice, and, you know, he didn't know, and it was such a small fraction of it, and did you read his statement? He said he had no idea. It's like, yeah, of course. You know, he's not going to come out and be like, oh, yeah, well, I cheated. You know what I mean? Like, he's
literally everybody who gets busted for this says they had no idea.
Yeah, like
just like Chris Colabello, for example, for the Blue Jays. That guy he claimed to have no idea, but as an athlete, you just have to have that in the back of your mind. You have to be so careful of what you put in your body. And I'm just saying this if you're defending him because he says he had no idea. I'm just saying, say he said he has no idea, like he said in his statement. You got to be so careful what you put in your body if that's the case. But I don't know if I buy that. And it goes the same with everybody who gets busted for PEDs.
Yeah, it's like if it's in your system, I mean, that's evidence enough. Like it's literally in your system.
Unless someone's forcing this down your throat, you have 100% control of what goes into your body.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. It's like if you're dealing with people who know, like when you're giving an athlete a dosage of something, especially if he's saying, oh, well, I got it from the team, like I had no idea, like I look at that stuff carefully, it's like, well, they're getting paid a lot of money to make sure that doesn't happen. So let's say the team or whoever, a doctor, whoever gave it this stuff to him in a drink or whatever it was, and he had no idea. Then obviously, that's on them. But the fact of the matter is these guys are paid enough to know that like whatever that was, it wasn't supposed to be in his system. So I can't, like, again, I'm gonna have to see more information, and I'm not totally ripping on Nate Schmidt, but like here on the Auddie and AP Sports podcast, I mean, we just don't like cheaters, and regardless of if it enhanced, if it won't enhance his play by a lot and stuff like that, it's still in his system, and I don't agree with any of that stuff.
I would agree 100%. It's a cheater's a cheater nonetheless. So like the way I looked at it is, I don't care how much, like, and you got to look at it from the NHL's perspective too. Do you think they really care about how much was found in there?
No, that's the thing. It's a policy, and I've been trying to explain this. If it says you can't take it, you can't take it. It's in your body. Like, that's like, okay, I don't know how great of an analogy this is, but let's say you get pulled over by a cop, okay? And you're like, and you're under 22. I think the law is you have to be over 22 to have any alcohol in your system while you're driving. So let's say you're like 21 years old and you're driving, and a cop pulls you over and they go, have you been drinking? Because like maybe you were swerving a little bit. Not drunk, but you were swerving a little bit, maybe not even from the alcohol. And you say, well, I had one, and like it's barely, it's not affecting me. I'm not drunk. It's still in your system, and that's illegal. Like, right. That still counts. You're not 22. Exactly. You can't have any alcohol. And this is Canada, by the way. We're from Canada. So, regardless of what the rule is for wherever you're at, a cop can be like, hey, listen, like, I smell the alcohol. How old are you? Like, you're 21? Yeah, well, guess what? You technically can't have any alcohol in your system when you're driving. The officer's not going to be like, well, it doesn't really affect you, and, it is breaking the rules, so I'm just going to let you go. Like, that doesn't happen. The NHL has to crack down on this stuff, because if players get the word that, oh, it's so little and maybe it could have helped me, I don't know, maybe it'll help me, they might start testing it out.
Oh, I agree. And I think it also comes down to the fact that the NHL has a reputation to uphold. And if they, you see controversies in leagues all the time. There was controversy in the NFL with Deflategate and Tom Brady. There's controversy all the time in big sports. But the NHL, and I'm going to knock on wood, is one of those leagues where they kind of avoid that. And it's for lack of a better term, it's a no BS league. It really is. So, by suspending him 20 games, I think it was the absolute right call. Mm-hmm. You've got to, if a policy's in place, you don't just disobey the policy. Just because, oh, you know what? It was just a little bit.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit that we found in there. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It was still in there. So, I mean, I think the ruling was fine. I'm sorry, Vegas fans, if that's not what you wanted to hear, but it's the truth. And a lot of people will tell you that. Rules got to be followed. I mean, it's just like any other suspension. If it's worthy of a suspension, they're going to suspend you.
Yep.
Because that's a rule. It's a rule. And, we just barely touched his head. It's still a headshot.
Yep.
Right? A headshot's a headshot.
So
a PED is a PED.
Yeah, it's totally true, and we've both talked about this on multiple occasions. Like, I mean, like I was telling Auddie, and he knows, and he was probably doing the same thing. It's like when Melky Cabrera was caught, and then he got traded to the Jays like a year later. He signed with the Jays, can't remember, but. I would be at games and I was booing him because it's like, I don't care if you're on my team. You cheated. Like, there's players that don't get that chance and they bust their ass their whole life. and
Oh,
you
for sure.
cheat once and you get an All-Star game MVP and all this other crap. It's like, man, there's these guys that are busting their ass to get that position, and you're taking a drug and getting their spot.
No, it really takes away from the integrity of the game
So,
because,
yeah.
like you said, but like we said, we're not going to beat this thing to death. Nate
You know
Schmidt.
what? We can really give an update next week.
Yeah, we can talk on. We'll give an update next week on the podcast. But as of this week, we're not going to beat this thing to death. We know he's been suspended 20 games. We know what the ruling is as of right now, and what all the information that we have has been presented to you. So we're not going to beat this thing to death. As it stands right now, 20 games. He's found guilty. But it does beg one question that I'd like to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
So does the suspension, the 20-game suspension, make a more intriguing case for the Vegas Golden Knights to try to go after Erik Karlsson?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Schmidt was one of their guys last year that, I mean, I don't think a lot of people seen coming. And losing him for 20 games could basically, you know what? People are like, oh, well, it's only 20 games. Well, that could make or break your season if you have a terrible start and Schmidt is, going to make a big impact. I don't think it's enough to make Vegas bad or anything like that. But, their horse this year on that blue line is going to be Shea Theodore, and Schmidt was going to be a good number 2, in my eyes. I mean, I don't really pay attention to their blue line as much, but I feel like that's probably their 2 guys at this point. And who else do they have back there? Colin Miller.
Yeah, they got Colin Miller, Derek Englund. I can't remember the third pairing.
Miller's a good guy too for that team. Like, he was pretty solid for them. But I mean, you would have to think Karlsson trade might be popping back up into their heads. That Tatar trade really hurt them in having more picks. Because
yeah, definitely.
I feel like they would have maybe had a chance to make the deal before the NHL draft, because if they would have not made that trade for Tatar, they would have had an extra 3 picks to maybe throw in that deal, because I don't think Vegas was really looking to, make a first-round selection if they could get a guy like Erik Karlsson. You're drafting to get a guy like him, or you could have him.
They've already drafted well, like, in the 2 years that they've been drafting. Like, they don't have a terrible prospect pool as it stands.
Yeah.
So, maybe you give those picks to Ottawa, a team that is struggling, and obviously that's what they're gonna want for Erik Karlsson, right? They're gonna look for first round draft picks. They're gonna look for potentially some younger prospects that could be NHL ready pretty soon. I know, Erik Karlsson's been in talks for trades for a while, and it's been a really interesting and almost fascinating topic just to see what the potential trade could look like, because there's been a lot of potential landing spots. I know Dallas has been in the mix. Tampa's obviously been in the mix. Last week on 960, Elliot Friedman told the boys, Boomer and Warner, that the Canucks actually checked in. They don't expect the Canucks to pursue it, but the Canucks checked in.
Yep.
There's all these teams that are going to go after this guy, this franchise defenseman, and it's just so fascinating to see what the return could be. But Vegas, by adding Erik Karlsson, only complements that blue line. They don't have a bad decor. For the most part, like when they in that expansion draft, they took second pairing guys. Right? Yeah. For the most part, they're pretty much composed of second pairing guys. So it's not like they've got a terrible decor. But by adding Erik Karlsson, I mean, it only bolsters anyone's blue line. But you'd have to pair him with a more stay-at-home kind of guy. That's why I think that it's more realistic to potentially see him go to Dallas, because then you could see that pairing again in him and Methot. And let me tell you, I watched a lot of Ottawa Senators hockey when I lived in Ottawa. I went to a lot of games, and that deep pairing of Methot and Karlsson was really fun to watch. Having a big stay-at-home body like Methot, who can actually play very good defense, and a guy like Karlsson who plays defense but tends to skate up, and he's more active offensively than a guy like Methot. But anyway, that's just my ramble on that.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I don't think Dallas is willing to give up the pieces that Ottawa wants, because they want to get Heiskanen, like their top defensive prospect from Dallas, and they've basically said no, that's not happening. So right away you're like, okay, no, you move over to Vegas. in turn, Vegas would be able to probably take on the Bobby Ryan contract,
which would make
and
the asking price for Karlsson a little bit
less.
less. Yeah,
But Bobby Ryan can still play. That's the thing. Like, he's pretty good. Like, he's still
he
a
is, and
decent player.
that's why I think that a team like Vegas should consider, if you're going to trade for Erik Karlsson, bringing in Bobby Ryan.
Because they just lost some scoring. I mean, you can replace it with Bobby Ryan while also grabbing more scoring with Karlsson. And with your point, like, them not having a ton of stay-at-home guys, it's like, it doesn't really matter. You're adding Karlsson to a team that just, made it to the Stanley Cup final. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it doesn't really matter. They're gonna add more offense to that team. They're gonna try to be just as explosive. The other thing is for Vegas, it would be tough. They're going to give up multiple picks. They'd probably have to give up like some pretty decent prospects, and they probably wouldn't want to give up a guy like Shea Theodore. But they'd probably have to give up a guy like Glass, which would probably hurt a lot of Vegas's fans. But I'm wondering how steep the price would be if they add Bobby Ryan to that deal. Like, you're obviously looking at multiple firsts, so probably a couple firsts.
Yeah, so like as it stands now, if you're just trading for Karlsson, what do you see the trade encompassing for just Erik Karlsson?
Well, instantly you're adding a defenseman like like maybe Theodore. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, they might be willing to take that risk if you're just straight up trying to get, like, if they're desperate, then they're gonna throw everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't think they're desperate. I think that they can afford to have Bobby Ryan in that deal. So the thing is, if you're calling Ottawa and you're McPhee, you're saying, listen, I just made it to the Cup final. Do I really need Erik Karlsson? No. But I can help you out here. But you're also going to have to help me, because I'm going to give you pieces that's going to help your future, but I'm also hurting my future with the cap hit by taking on Bobby Ryan. So you're going, okay, well, you're still going to have to give a couple multiple. Like, I think you're giving 2 first-round picks. You're adding in
sounds
a
realistic.
third, maybe even a fourth. Like, you're just trying to throw a package of picks at them. Then you're probably looking at a decent prospect, if not Glass as the guy that goes. Now, again, that might hurt. Maybe that removes one of the first round picks. Maybe it still is in play. The only way I would be like, okay, I'm okay with giving up this crazy package is if it comes with a Karlsson extension as well. So then that also plays into Ottawa's favor, because if Karlsson says, oh yeah, I'll accept a deal, then you're like, okay, damn, like, I can throw everything at them because I might be able to contend for a cup this year. Because you have to remember too, it's not like they can't make any more trades. Like, Vegas is going to be able to be a deadline buyer if they're still playing really good, and they could add even more to that team, which in turn, what happens if Dallas falls out of the standings? Maybe Mathot becomes available. You never know.
Exactly. That's very true, and I actually applaud you for that, because I didn't even think of that.
So you have to think about all the possibilities that could happen. I honestly think Vegas is the most realistic fit, because Elliot Friedman said at the deadline, like, I was following it, like you were too. I mean, it's literally like the trade, like, at one point they thought it was done. Like, they thought that there was a trade in place to get Karlsson to Vegas. So it's not like it's impossible. Like, Karlsson could have been on that cup run.
Oh, for sure. And I like you said, I was just about to bring that point up, was the fact that they were so close already, and it was reported from legitimate and credible sources that they were super close to a deal at the deadline.
It came from
it only leads me to believe that, it's not impossible. And if they were that close at the deadline, then having all this time now to hum and haw about it and, essentially build that trade and piece it together, it's doable, and it's not unrealistic to see that happen.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. I have no idea, like, what's gonna happen here, because I want something to happen, because I like seeing, movement. Everybody likes seeing a good trade.
Oh, for sure.
But, oh man, I just don't know.
No, and it's fascinating to me, like, I'm not going to lie to you. All the talk of Erik Karlsson, and every time it seems as though Erik Karlsson takes a step outside his house, people are reporting that a trade is close. So it's a bit frustrating, but at the same time, I'm still super intrigued and fascinated to see where this guy ends up.
Yeah.
because there's just been so much talk and so much hype, and with, you know, the situation in Ottawa right now. I mean, it's not good.
No.
So like that plays into it as well. Like it's such a unique storyline. It's been a really interesting offseason.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens. But again, we can also update this the next time we're on, the podcast, because I think we should probably get to some baseball here.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
We'll talk about this more. We'll keep updating you as we go. We don't want to make these things too long and beat these topics to death by any means. But Blue Jays talk.
Yep.
We got to talk about these Blue Jays. We got to talk about how they've done, how they're looking, and what the future brings. Now, recently we've seen some trades.
Yes, we have.
We've seen some waiver trades.
Oh.
Sending the bringer of rain to the Cleveland Indians, Josh Donaldson, to the Cleveland Indians for a player to be named later.
So, by the way, he hit a grand slam today in the minor leagues.
I saw that, and it stung.
I know.
So bad.
I was like waiting for him to throw up the 6 as he touched the plate, and I'm like, oh,
Me too.
he doesn't have to do that anymore. That started with Marcus Stroman, apparently. Apparently that was because when he was injured, like he was throwing that up for him or something like that. I thought that was a cool story, but
That's interesting.
so anyways, it's just Donaldson being traded for a player to be named later is a huge fail on the front office's part because he should have been traded in the offseason. People are saying, well, not people. We're not going to waste no time. Let's get right into this. I mean, Shapiro and Atkins said at the beginning of the season, and then they just said recently that they didn't want to completely start a rebuild last summer, or like before the season started last year or whatever, like in the the winter meetings and stuff like that. They didn't want to roll over and die, essentially. They wanted to try to keep this team competitive. Now, you and me both know that was never going to happen.
No. We've been watching this team for way too long to know that was not going to happen.
So they missed an opportunity to trade Josh Donaldson and probably get a hefty package, which probably would have included a nice arm. And from what we're hearing now from rumors is that the player, and this is coming from like legitimate verified Blue Jays sources, is that they're going to be getting a pitcher. I can't remember his name, but all I know is that he's 27. He's not a prospect.
No.
And that he has a ERA over 5 in AAA. But from what the Cleveland Indians fans have been saying is that when he settled down in AA and Single A, he was actually fairly good. And that if he settles down in AAA, that he should become a pretty decent arm. But I mean,
yeah, but what does that tell you? How long does that take? If he's 27 already,
and he's also coming off of Tommy John surgery,
right?
So
I do
this
remember
is not
seeing
a
that
good
too.
trade. This is, I don't honestly. I wanted Donaldson to stay on this team long term, but when I realized that they could, get a good trade for him in the summer or whatever, the winter meetings, I was like, okay. Just do it, honestly. Just rip the Band-Aid right off. Get rid of him. Bautista's gone. My favorite Blue Jay ever.
Oh, me too.
Edwin's gone. Donaldson's gone. Osuna, good riddance. This team is just completely different. And
everything that was so good about this team in the last 2 seasons, making it to the ALDS and CS and all that, is gone. It's broken down. There's pretty much nothing left to show for that.
Yep.
Especially with Troy Tulowitzki being hurt and non-existent when he's healthy.
Yep.
It hurts as a Jays fan, man. Like they gave us this taste of postseason baseball and what it would be like to have a team that actually wins ball games and can go the distance, but all of a sudden now it's just it's back to the status quo, what we've been experiencing as Jays fans for pretty much our whole lives.
Well, yeah, they wasted Jose Bautista's prime years. I mean, they wasted Edwin's prime years as well, to be honest. He's still hitting, but the thing is you kind of wasted when Edwin was like really, really on the top of his game. Like the last season he had in Toronto was absolutely amazing, but Edwin was doing that pretty much every year. So they wasted that. And like you said, Tulowitzki, Martin is garbage now. I mean, everybody's always hurt. Like, if Devin Travis was healthy, he'd be much better. I mean, Stroman and Sanchez, they're always hurt. And the fact of the matter is, they're both not effective pitchers anymore.
No, they're really not. And like you said, they're so injury prone now with these blisters and everything that went on with Marcus Stroman, and he was going to have this big comeback after his knee surgery, and I don't know, man. I'm still waiting for it. I do like the guy. I'll give him that. I don't think he's a bad person.
Quick in-game update as well. We're recording this podcast on Monday, September 3rd. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays, they're not Devil Rays anymore. I just always say that. The Tampa Bay Rays are up 6-1 in the 6th inning. Speak of the devil, Marcus Stroman threw 1.2 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. So his ERA, he is now... his ERA is up around 5.54. So,
and you know what? I love his energy, and I love the fact that he's always saying, "Oh yeah, you know what? That one was bad. I'm going to come back out next time, and it's going to be better." But
so every start.
When is it gonna? When are we going to see that? I can't remember the last time I've seen a good quality start from Marcus Stroman or Aaron Sanchez.
Yeah, it's honestly it's kind of upsetting. I mean. The Blue Jays might have even missed an opportunity to trade Stroman and Sanchez before. I don't know if you remember this, but the year that Edwin left, which was 2 seasons ago now, this is the 2nd season, I believe, he's been gone.
That's right. Yep.
The off-season rumor was that the Blue Jays had a deal in place revolving around Stroman to the Colorado Rockies for Charlie Blackmon.
I do recall,
dude,
and I
just
don't
saying that right
even
now,
want
I want
to
to
hear
throw
that.
up. I just want to throw up. And the thing is, dude, like, you will not meet 2 bigger Marcus Stroman fans, honestly. Like, we're huge fans. We both have his jersey. The thing is like, when you can get a guy like Charlie Blackmon, come on, dude.
And then you don't have to go out and get Curtis Granderson.
Yep. I mean, But the problem
honestly,
is,
like, before we bash a guy like Curtis Granderson, I do have to say I have a lot of respect for the amount of charity work and community work that he does. So I don't want to take that away from him. But that being said,
also keep in mind we're also being hypocrites because I mean at the same time we both didn't want Stroman to get traded, but and like it's easier for us to sit here and say now, holy crap, we should have made that deal because whatever, but. That deal just would have made so much sense for both sides. I feel like maybe he would have had a better time there too. Like I feel like there's not as much pressure, but
it's not necessarily in the spotlight. But I think that's what he likes.
Yeah,
he definitely lives for it. So I don't know. I think that maybe by going to Colorado, he would have had to earn it more. Because being in a market like Toronto, with being the only Canadian team and the amount of attention that they get in Canada, obviously, like he's gonna get the attention that he's looking for.
I'd also like to add there were some bright spots for this team in the past couple of years because we're kind of jumbling the last couple of years to what's happening now. I'd also like to add thank you very much, Jay Happ.
Big time.
The trade might not work 100% in our favor. I do like Drury. I think once he's healthy, again he's been going through some stuff, so I'm not just going to automatically be like, wow, we got somebody who's injury prone. Once he gets healthy, he'll probably be a decent piece for this team, as well as the fact that I'd also like to give a shout out to a guy that I won't diss because of the effort that he's put in. He's kind of fallen off now. He's not really effective anymore, but Marco Estrada, that guy literally was unbelievable for this team when the team did not look like they had any effective starters. Especially in those playoff runs.
He stepped up and stepped into it. Like he embraced it. He's like, all right, this is the role I have now. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to go out and I'm going to pitch every game like it's a World Series game, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. He was lights out in the playoffs most of the time. And he he has some of the best memories for the Blue Jays in the postseason. I mean, Game 5 against Kansas City. I think it was Game 5 where he just was freaking believable, and he got the standing O and Gibby when he came out to grab the ball from him. He said, "Wow," because dude, unbelievable.
I got goosebumps. I dead ass have goosebumps now. I mean, thinking about that.
I watch the clip all the time. of him walking off the mound. And you know what? I just gotta. It might be his last year with the Jays, and realistically, it should be. He came in here with a lot of people doubting him. He's just a mid reliever. No, he stepped up. He became Marco Ace Strata.
Big time!
Literally,
he was
unbelievable.
He's been more impactful than Stroman and Sanchez. Don't at me.
Oh, I 100% back you on that. Same with Jay Happ. I mean, he was a very effective coming back to the Blue Jays.
His second time with the Blue Jays, I think, was better.
Oh, obviously, yeah,
a lot better. But I mean, I generally like J.A. Happ, and maybe we'll see him. Maybe we'll see him come back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know
I'd like to see it.
I know someone interviewed Jay, and they were saying that, would you entertain the option of coming back to Toronto? And he said something along the lines of, I'd be crazy not to.
Yep.
Right. He loves this city, and this city loves him. Like he's great.
Just to name off a few names. What was that? Seung-Hwan Oh.
Seung-Hwan Oh.
He was pretty good this year. Not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of sad to see him go because he was one of the better relievers, I guess you could say. Aaron Loop, for as much as sometimes I got on him, the Jays put him in a lot of really bad situations.
They did
down the stretch, so I can't really hate him too much. I mean, other guys like Clippard weren't very good. Biagini wasn't very good. Axford, had his big homecoming. He always wanted to be a Jay. I don't want to knock him too much, but he wasn't, that great.
No.
And the Blue Jays have to look forward to the future because they've got a lot of big names coming up. And again, we're gonna dive deep into the Blue Jays once the season's finally over, so that way we can give you guys full maybe batting statistics from everybody. But again, we just wanted to kind of briefly go over the team a little bit and our feelings because there is way too much to talk about when it comes to the Blue Jays.
And we tend to ramble.
Yeah.
Especially when we talk about the Blue Jays. We just come into this thing blind and we just go and don't stop.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's fair for us to say we can quickly give you guys a brief thing about the future because we do know they're going to be bringing up some big names, and then maybe what we'll do is next week we'll dive deeper into maybe some pieces we see coming back, maybe even try to do a lineup prediction next week, if anything. I think that'd be pretty fun. We won't go into the bullpen and the rotation too much. Maybe we'll do the rotation, but not the bullpen because that's probably going to get completely flipped over. Except for maybe Ken Giles probably be the only guy that's locked in as the closer, which is he's been pretty good in the closing role. I'm not gonna lie. We'll probably do a lineup prediction next week. But regarding the future, we do know we've heard the cat's out of the bag. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won't be coming up this year. What's your immediate thoughts on that? Because I know we were discussing it.
I'm fine with it. I don't think you need to bring him up now anyway. What's the point?
Yeah, I agree.
What's the point of bringing him up now? We've already failed this season miserably. I mean, it's down the toilet if you're asking me, and you lose a year of control if you bring him up now.
Yep. I mean,
so why don't
agree.
you just wait? Why don't you just wait? When there's more guys that are ready to come up from within the farm system next year, completely reface the team pretty much. I mean, we're going to see a lot of new faces.
Yeah, I mean,
and it really excites me.
Yeah, we're gonna see Calvin Biggio, who just won the AAA player MVP or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he just won the MVP of whatever league. I think he's in the AAA now. He looks real good. He's got some pop. That guy can hit. He put up some stupid numbers. I think he's one away from tying Eric Thames or something, or pretty close to Eric Thames for his home runs that he hit in 2010 with the Blue Jays in the minors. So that should be impressive. Right. So you got him, you got Bo Bichette, you got Vladdy Jr. There's a lot of guys coming up, and then obviously we've seen some
arms come up. Reed Foley and
Pannone or whatever.
Pannone. We're starting to kind of see the transition.
Baruki.
Baruki's unreal. Hasn't been unreal, but I think he will be unreal.
Yeah, and
I have more faith in him than I do in Stroman and Sanchez.
And dude, Danny Jansen has been awesome.
I love that guy.
Oh my god, that might be the next jersey I get, man. I love Danny Jansen.
Me too. I just hope that the Blue Jays fans are ready for a little bit of a slow period. Things aren't looking good right now, but the future looks bright. I mean, Look at those names we just brought up.
I mean, and that's not even all of them. I mean, I have a theory that I'll go over next week when we do the roster prediction. Teoscar Hernandez looks really good with the bat. Awful fielder. Just absolutely terrible. So we'll have to go over him. Gurriel Jr., he can hit. And he's good with his glove, too. So he's going to be nice. His brother is a bit of a nutcase, but he's pretty cool. I like him. He hasn't done anything stupid yet, so keyword being yet. Hopefully he doesn't.
Let's keep it that way.
Also, quick shout out because we forgot to say this. Steve Pearce also did pretty good for the Jays this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he's killing it with the Red Sox from what
That's
we've
good
seen.
to see.
Very nice guy. Really like him. So hopefully he's going to continue to kill it. But I think that we can probably wrap it up and try to get to more Blue Jays discussion next week.
Yeah, you know what? I think we didn't want to beat anything to death in this first one. This is our icebreaker back into the podcast world, so we didn't want to make it anything too ridiculously long or boring or anything like that. So we wanted to keep it fresh. We talked about what I think is some pretty important stuff, some pretty relevant stuff in the world of sports this week. So I mean, thank you guys for stopping by. You guys are the reason why we do this, right?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, man, we'd love to hear lots of suggestions and stuff like that from you guys.
Yeah, so like we said before, this is our main platform. This is the only place for the time being that you will find the Auddie and AP Sports Podcast. We are back. We are ready. We are better than ever. And we can't wait to keep releasing podcasts. We talked about this for so long, and we finally said to each other this week, hey, let's do this, and let's do this right. So we are back. Please, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the podcast, consider subscribing. We're going to do this thing weekly. We're going to do other stuff on the channel, but that's still in the development stages. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. And if you are new, please consider subscribing.
Yes, so click the notification bell as well, just so that way you guys are notified whenever we put up a new podcast. So I think that's going to be...
I was forgetting something. The notification bell.
Listen, we'll be able to catch each other every week.
That's right, and we will. You know what? I'm excited for us to debate some stuff. So let's think of a debate next week.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll definitely have to do that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast.
Thank you guys. See ya.